For almost 50 years, Midway USA has been America's go-to source for just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. Go to midwayusa.com to see our latest deals and promotions and take advantage of our super fast same-day shipping. If you need a cooler, a new fishing rod, another rifle, ammo, or a reloading press, you can find it all at midwayusa.com. Thanks for your business. Midway USA has an extensive selection of bullets, providing top-notch performance and accuracy for the cartridge you plan on reloading. If you plan to hunt, shoot competitively, plink at the range, or even load up some self-defense rounds, Midway USA has the popular brands, calibers, diameters, and grain weights of bullets you are searching for. First-time reloaders, bulk bullet buyers, and seasoned specialty shooters begin their search for bullets at Midway USA. For just about everything for reloading, shop midwayusa.com.
Sitting up there jacked with Pepsi.
I'm there for the pack out. You just got to pack me in.
Committed to the bow early on. Like, I love getting close and putting up.
You cover a range of stuff on here too, right? Like,
we call this the THP World Headquarters.
You know, my grandpa Roy Weatherby.
I came into like that golden little pocket where there was like 4 or 5 different bowls. Just
You're Canadian? We're doing a Canadian podcast.
My name's Douglas Bode.
I'm Robbie Denning.
Roy Candy.
Is that straight from watching those fucking Leafs play? Oh my god, that's ugly,
man.
Ugly bottle. It matches your ugly hat.
You know what? You can see what you want. I'm still kicking your ass at the 3D shoot. We don't need it. I've been betting against the Leafs, even though they're my team forever as well. So it doesn't even hurt me anymore. I just kind of chuckle when I look at how they're getting their asses whooped.
They are so bad. It is like, it's painful. Do you watch hockey, Taylor?
Well, I actually heard the guys at the practice today talking about it, and I was curious if we were in playoffs or not. So I would say I don't watch much hockey anymore.
Yeah, well, you're not missing much.
No, it's tough. It's tough to be a Canadian. Like, I cheer for any Canadian team in the playoffs. Good thing Edmonton turned it around, because fuck the Leafs, man. They're tough to watch. God, you just want to pull your hair out trying to cheer for those guys.
Yeah, almost time to find a new sport.
Or a new team.
A new team. I have a hard time being a bandwagoner. Just ride with them down in the flames.
Yeah. Well, you should be used to that if you're cheering for the Leafs.
Yeah, I am.
Right on. All right. Well, anyway, we might as well talk some hunting now that we've trashed the Leafs, and they're not going to get any better. So, but Taylor, thanks for hopping on the show, buddy.
Well, thanks for having me. I know we had a quick conversation last spring, whether or not I had time to jump on the call. And at that point, I was trying to get a couple screaming kids to bed, so it didn't work out. But I'm super happy to be on this year to talk about hunting and, some conservation.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's good to have you on. And 2 kids, yeah. Both Pete and I, we know all about that. I got 3 at home myself. And Pete's are older now. Well, older-ish.
Yeah, my last one's heading out the door here this fall, and Freedom 44.
Yeah,
last spring was 2, but this year it's 3 I've got at home now. So
oh wow.
Oh, so you're busy at home.
I'm in the same trouble you are, Kevin.
Yeah. I don't know. As long as you get to get out in the outdoors, I guess it's good. How old are your kids?
They are 4, 2, and 6 months old.
Oh wow, really?
You are busy.
Yeah.
I still remember I've got a young girl. It's our best friend's daughter. She's 6, and I love the 4 to 8. It has always been my favorite time. They want to hang out with you. They're game for most things, and grab your shit. Let's head out the door. And it's a blast.
Yeah, they're funny when they're that age. I mean, I don't miss. I mean, obviously, as there's going to probably be a time in your life when you're like, you miss like them when they're really little. But looking back at it now, I definitely don't miss those days at all.
Yeah, I definitely see the difference of like, okay, you have a newborn. I've done that 3 times now. They're super easy. They hang out. I've got a 4-year-old who wants to do everything some days. Some days wants to do nothing, and it's a struggle to figure out what the balance is. And then, like the other day, he looks at me, he goes, "Dad, how many teeth do a bear have?" I look at him, I'm like, "Well, let's go grab the skull and let's go count them." And he answered a question for me. I had no idea. They have 40 teeth, or at least the one I shot last spring does.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Some have a little more than others. The older ones seem to have a lot less. I think I got a bear skull sitting by the barbecue, and it only has like, oh, I should have counted them, but not a lot. Like I would say less than 20 teeth in its skull, top to
Really?
bottom. Yeah.
Just an old.
Yeah, really old.
bear.
Yeah, and we're not super big. Funny, like, but just either that or he was chewing on rocks. I don't know.
And yeah, that's even counting the missing teeth. There's some spots in the jawline that there's just holes where I assume teeth came out of at one point.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely go through a lot of, well, I guess they don't go through a lot of teeth. Once they're gone, they're gone. I don't think that slows them down too much, because you see some bears, some big bears, all their front teeth have been gnawed off. So I don't know. Interesting. So maybe give yourself a little introduction to the listeners, buddy. Let everybody know who they're talking to or listening to. Sorry.
Yeah. My name's Taylor Nairn. Grew up fishing. I got into hunting after high school. One of my best friends always came back and had the coolest adventures elk hunting, and I asked him how I got into it, and he kind of showed me the ropes, and we've been hunting together now for the last 13 years. And
nice.
I try and spend as much time outdoors with the family, and then alone solo with the dog. We moved out of the coast just after the big floods 2 years ago to enjoy more outdoor time, and that's definitely something that the Okanagan has had to offer for us.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, I grew up on North Coast, and I moved to the Okanagan. Yeah, well, a long time ago now. But I mean, obviously, I grew up same things, hunting, fishing out there. But there's just something that when I moved to the Okanagan, just the appeal and like the ability to chase deer and elk and bears and turkeys and all that stuff, and just it's just a lot more accessible than the coast. I mean, it's not, especially here, a lot less obviously where Pete is. He's more in the Rocky Mountains, but here it's the hills are a lot easier to navigate. They're a lot more open. The weather's a lot nicer, so it definitely has its advantages, that's for sure. So you said you got into hunting 13 years ago with a friend. Now your friend, he lives down the coast still?
Yeah, we both grew up on the coast, and he moved to Kamloops for I think about 6 months, and then had too good of an offer to go back to the coast for work, so he moved back down there. And I'm pretty sure he was hunting when he was in diapers, but yeah, lifelong. Him and his dad went all over the province, and they were great people to teach me the ropes about hunting, getting into it.
Yeah, no doubt. So you don't have, like, your family history, the background is not a hunting family?
My dad bird hunted when he was a teenager, and then I think kind of when I was born, it was a little bit too much to commit to bigger trips out of the Fraser Valley, so we stuck with fishing, going over to Port Alberni every summer for a week, catching as much sockeye as they would let us. And then when that kind of got reduced and slowed down, and ferry cost was so expensive it wasn't worth it, we switched over to fishing the Fraser.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the norm for living on the coast. I mean, like, we fished. I definitely fished a lot more than I hunted growing up or living on the coast, just because it's just so easy and accessible. I mean, we had the Skeena River there. We had all the tributaries of the Skeena River. We had the ocean. So, I mean, we fished, just the accessibility of it and how easy it was. And yeah, man, there's definitely a lot of days we spent with hooks in the water. That's for sure.
Yeah, not to mention that it was the heyday of the salmon back then too.
Yeah, for sure.
Not like it is now.
No, it's definitely changed a lot. Unfortunately, it's changed for the worse, but hopefully things get better. But I mean, that's a conversation that you could get into, and I don't know enough about it to get into, so we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's so much to get into on our salmon stocks, and fishing one every 4 years and trying to keep that entertaining and fun for a family is not something that is really worthwhile for me. So I will probably just stick with hunting. The kids love, I think my 4-year-old spots deer better than I do nowadays.
Perfect.
Yeah, no doubt. But so bear hunting, you have been bear hunting for how long?
I started bear hunting in 2019, I believe.
So like why did you get into it? Like what drove you to bear hunting? Because usually especially for guys who started hunting later in life, bear is just not typically something that they pursue.
Yeah. So when I first started, the mentors I had, I think they were taught that it was kind of inedible, and so we never looked at shooting bears. I had opportunities early on, but I wasn't into shooting something I wasn't going to eat, so I left it at that. And I don't know if it was maybe Eat Wild or kind of like Talk is Sheep had some people talking about like hunting bears and how good the food is. So listening to the podcast kind of gave me that open mind to pursue bears. And the first couple of years hunting, close to the lower mainland, I found lots of tracks, found lots of sign, but those mountains are certainly hard to hunt if you're just new at it and looking for sign. Essentially, if you can't be out there every week, it's hard.
Yeah, for sure. And especially that's one thing about hunting bears I find either where I am now, like just the nature of the hills, and they're a lot more open. There's a lot more, seems like there's a lot more accessible clear cuts. Like there's a lot more clear cuts. I mean, there's a lot of clear cuts on the coast, don't get me wrong, but those seem to be most accessible by like boat or helicopters, a lot of heli logging out there, where here it's like they're road accessible, these areas. So, and generally I find, and I know most guys do that, deactivated logging roads, even clear cuts like that, that's generally where you're going to find the most bears, or the best chance of finding bears anyway. You're going to see the most bear activity. Not that you don't in the other areas, it's just that's the easiest place for us to look as humans to get around.
Yeah, I mean, when I was hunting the lower mainland, didn't really see any bears in the spring, but it was October, we actually hiked into this really nice alpine basin that has a really good trail network around it. And I don't think we were actually intending on hunting bears that day. It was more of we're packing around a year and a half old, so we'll bring a rifle. And we got up there and the weather changed on us and it started sleeting. And here I spotted 3 bears in the basin and just kind of looked at the wife and our youngest, and he was getting cold. And I'm like, we can't be pursuing this bear, shooting it, and potentially being up there for another couple hours. I was like, our year and a half old will probably have blue lips by then and be in pretty rough shape. So that was, we went back in. Dan, who was my hunting partner, who mentored me into it, we went in 2 days later and we got up there and it was just totally socked in, could barely see 100 yards. So we sat there for the morning and then made our way out because it wasn't clearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so you started in 2019 and you had a couple of years where you weren't able to connect. I think last year we talked, last year was your first successful year, right? With bear, and you got 2 spring bears or 1?
Yeah, so the last spring, 2022, I got 2 spring bears. I had actually spotted bears before the season opened. So in March, I was able to glass up a sow and 3 cubs up on the very top of a mountain, which didn't make sense to me because I figured they would have been in the valley bottom first.
Uh-huh.
So then I kind of had an idea, well, there's bears out on this mountain already. I might as well, maybe as soon as season opens, and look at that as an area to go pursue. I wasn't after the sow and cubs, but if there's 1 out, there's got to be more up there. And then, it was Easter weekend. I had the day to go up, and so I took our puppy out, who was a year old, and hiked into this area. And there were some dried up lakes on the map, or there were lakes on the map that I wanted to get to, assuming they'd have water in it. And it's kind of pretty key factor down here in this area, there's cactus growing, so there doesn't need to be much water for the plant life. I got up to this basin that I was climbing into, and I kind of looked in this little dried up lake, which amazed me because the ground was still frozen. And here I see this, what to me looked like an enormous cinnamon bear. And I dropped the backpack, pulled the tripod out. So I had to shoot through like a tiny little window. So I got set up for that, knowing it'd probably be a 150, 200 yard shot. And I was pretty nervous at the point, so wanted all the stability I could have. And I watched it for 10, 15 minutes, just sitting there on his butt, eat a little bit, walk a couple feet, lay down, stand up. Just not a care in the world. Didn't look around like it had anything in the trees. So I kind of eliminated the fact that that's definitely not the other bear I saw on the mountain, because the cubs that were with it were probably the previous years. So they were pretty big. They were definitely coming up on 2 years, and they were all over the place when I saw it on the mountain. So then I found a good spot where I could actually shoot through the trees, and I made what to me looked like a good shot. It spun around and then took off out of the lake. And when I got down there was no blood, no tracks, because the ground was completely solid. And I started doing like a grid pattern, because the trail that I thought it ran out on, there was nothing there. So the dog and I just kind of wandered back and forth trying to find some sort of track from this bear. And I had almost given up, but I'm like, you know what? I've heard they always find, like, they'll take the main trail out and typically go downhill. So I found the main trail and I just started walking it, and it was laying underneath these two trees, just curled up. And it wasn't dead yet, but it was just barely breathing. Like, I looked, I was like, oh, it's still alive. So I put another one in it, and that was the end of it. I got to hear the very typical death moan that bears have, and that is definitely an eerie sound.
Yeah. The last few bears I've killed, they haven't done the death moan. I was talking about that the other day, because somebody said that they all do, and I was like, no, they don't all do it. But it's nice when they do, because then it's game over. You don't have to worry about it. And that also gives you an indication of where they ran to, which is nice. Because like you said, bears, sometimes they're not easy to track. They got real thick fur, and they're tough. They're fatty animals. So they typically don't bleed a lot. So what was going through your head when you're looking for this thing? You started getting discouraged, start questioning yourself. Was that a good shot? Was it a good shot?
Most definitely. Yeah. Like, I haven't lost anything yet. And I was kind of thinking, like, I guess at some point you will lose animals. And when you're not, like, I assumed I would get tracks on the ground when it took off, but it didn't even tear up the grass at all or the dirt. I was like, wow, this is not, I had all the time to set up a good shot, and I thought it would go better than that. And when I got down to the bear, first thing I looked for was like, well, where did I hit it? And I hit it in the ribs. It was like a little bit further back lung shot, but around that part of the bear on the side, it was almost 7 inches of fur hanging off of it.
Yeah. And that's why.
It just soaks up everything.
Yeah.
And like, it was when I grabbed the bear on the side, it was completely blood soaked, but just not dripping anywhere. Didn't any bushes that it walked by or trees.
Yeah, and it's funny too, like bears, for being such a big animal, you think they'd make a lot more, like even when they walk through the bush, they're pretty quiet, when they want to be. They're pretty stealth-like. It's pretty amazing. But it's one of those things. Yeah, definitely. Like you said, though, I mean, you hunt long enough, and unfortunately, it's one of those things that everybody loses one. But luckily, you found that thing. So backing up before that, you hunted what, 2000? So it was 2019, 2020, 2021. Those were unsuccessful years.
Yes, they were.
So were you going out were those spring years that you were going out and doing some bear hunting?
Yeah, we were probably, I would say 3 weekends a month, we'd be out, and we tried to go to the same place a bunch because we'd find sign. But once we found it a couple times both years in kind of the same window of time in the month, but as soon as we got past that, there was never any more sign. They must have moved higher up and out of any access that was available for us with the kids.
Right.
And then we also tried some places coastal, and we found sign, but just when you can see 4 feet off the trail, if they're not on the trail, you're not catching up to them very easily.
Yeah. Was it a work in progression? Like, did slowly, over those 3 years, was it something that you kind of just, you felt like you improved on little by little every year? Like, were you picking up bits of information, whether it was podcast or YouTube or reading or anything like that? Was it something that you were working on to try to, get to that next step of actually being able to harvest a bear?
Yeah, it certainly was. I was lots of podcasts, some reading I would do. I feel like there was some good papers out of the States that I had read, but I don't think it was actually helping me at all. I was never getting any closer in the areas I was hunting.
Yeah,
I didn't see a single spring bear for the first couple of years hunting that more coastal and the mountains outside of the Fraser Valley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. So what do you think it was? What do you think attributed to the success you had in 2022? Do you think it was just like the scouting you did earlier in the year and already having already having the knowledge of where there's actually bears in certain areas? Because like you said, I mean, if there's bears in an area, now whether it's a sow or a boar, generally there's something in there that's they like, whether if it's early in the season, it's going to be south facing slopes with lots of vegetation that they can easily get at. So there's not just, most likely, especially here in BC, there's not just going to be one bear. Most likely there's going to be multiple bears. Is that something you think that, you can attribute to your success to? Is that early preseason scouting?
For sure. Yeah, I think the early scouting helped, being able to, watch the green up progress through the valley. And I was shocked to find bears out before it had greened up. So like that was definitely not planned. But then when I did see them up there, I was like, well, it won't hurt to go check it out. But then throughout the season, like we'd drive from the lake we were living at down to Penticton, and most days I'd see 2 to 3 bears just from the highway.
Right.
You're finding them in these little valleys right on fresh green flowers and always in certain pockets. It seemed that, it's an area where you're not looking at dense cover from above. So you're actually seeing what would be the forest floor in other places where it's sagebrush and flower flats. So you're actually getting a chance to see the bears walking in the habitat they're trying to eat, not just in the transition corridors between.
Yeah. So you had your first year, you had a nice cinnamon bear, and then you had a monster, a toad of a bear. How long after was it when you got that big sucker? And Pete and I, we posted. Do you remember the post we did, Pete?
I do.
Of Taylor's bear.
Yeah,
that nice big, really big, that big brown or big dark, and he had the real nice light colored nose, really good looking bear.
Yeah, like a very typical, more what you'd see on the coast, actually, like a dark jet black body with your nice tan muzzle and lots of scarring. It was a pretty cool bear. So that one, after getting my first bear, I had a couple buddies who were interested in coming out, and they'd asked, and we planned like a weekend. I want to say I don't think it was May long, but I think we made a 3-day weekend early in May.
Yeah.
And we came down, and I had an idea where we could go. I had been out kind of still scouting to try and see if I could get myself a second bear. And going out, looking, glassing these different drainages, and I'd see a bear here, another one in another drainage. And then when my friend Jareed came down, we were out on the Friday night, and we went into the one basin. We come up and we're parked on this corner, and there's a sow and 2 cubs, all black. We're sitting there and we're glassing, and I looking at this hillside that's pretty much a vertical cliff with some little plateaus on it, and I spotted a nice big cinnamon bear up there. It was 800 yards.
What time of the
800 yards
year?
from us.
Yeah. What time of the year is this that you're out there?
Probably the second week of May.
Oh, okay. So still fairly early. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're glassing that one, and then all of a sudden, over the corner of our eye, we see the sow and cubs moving. And then there was 4 more bears in the picture there, so we had 7 bears running through this tiny little opening, and I'm assuming it was a couple boars looking to take out the cubs to maybe try and rebreed the sow. But so in that little valley, we ended up turning up nine bears in a couple hours in an evening.
That's a good afternoon set.
That was a very good afternoon, because he came up that Friday morning, and then that was just like, oh, we'll go check this out. I know I've seen bears up there. It's a spot where it's big mountains. If you can shoot long range, you're definitely into a lot of accessible terrain. Or if they're just feeding, you can probably stalk in, like, side hilling into them. But we kind of headed out that night with just like, we were happy we saw bears, and that was irregular for both of us when we've been hunting in the past. And Jareed, my partner, hadn't shot any bears yet either. So we kind of came up with a plan. I thought we'd go into another basin the next day and check that out. And I mean, I don't know what you guys do for bear hunting, but I so far have not planned to get up super early in the morning unless I'm going for a good hike in.
Yeah, I don't go for early mornings unless I'm out on like a backpack hunt for bears. Just because what the fuck else are you gonna do, right? You're there.
Honestly, if I'm out camping and I'm gonna hunt, I'll go fishing in the morning, and I'll go out for bears when I'm done with my morning.
But if
fish.
if I'm going on a backpack hunt for bears, I'll hunt all day, light till dark. But other than that, if I'm going, and I don't really do a lot of those, just because I find you actually have more success if you're just like, I can go to work, and then, like, especially here in BC, like, you're only a couple hours away from me, but man, it's just like you get so much daylight in the evening that you could leave work at 3:30 and you could hunt till 10:30 at night. So it's definitely nice to do that. But anyway, back to your story there.
Yeah, and then the next day we chose, honestly, it's the next drainage up, and we went up there, and kind of on the way up the road, I was like, oh, we had to cross through a cattle gate and close it on. And just as we got to the gate, I was like, what is that in that field? And it was just this big black bear. And it's a spot where they range cattle, so we weren't sure at first, like, is that just another cow up there? Because we'd already passed a bunch of them, and kind of made this plan, parked at a landing, and we were gonna hike up over this knob. And as we were hiking this knob, we're assuming it was a piece of equipment went past, and it was really loud. So we popped up over this knob expecting a bear to be within a couple hundred yards, and there was no bear to be seen. And it slowly started raining on us. So, I mean, where we are, I don't even think I brought a rain gear, because it doesn't rain down here. And we hiked up to this ponderosa, and we sat underneath it for a few hours, and all of a sudden we spotted it looked like 2 siblings. They were probably 3-4 years old, but identical size, playful. And one was cinnamon, like a dark chocolate type color, and then the other one was a black bear. And we were watching them for a while. Neither of them looked overly big, so we decided we'd just kind of wait and go check out another area. And we went up the range, and found out that we hit the green up line was like way below where we were headed into the next spot. So we turned around, we came down, we just thought we'd hike the other side of that basin. We hiked in, we found a nice spot to sit for a while, and just waited, kind of late afternoon at this point. And all of a sudden we look behind us, and down the hill are like 35 mule deer just feeding behind us at 150 yards. We're like, wow, where did they come from? Like, that many deer just snuck up behind us. And Jareed's looking at these 2 bears that are now slowly feeding out of the drainage down, and one of them looks pretty good, kind of a cinnamon, and that one disappeared and didn't come back. And then all of a sudden we're kind of watching this one quickly walk through I don't think it was burnt, but maybe a lot of wind blow down in it. And we spot a bear that's just kind of working its way along, and it looked nice. And for his first bear, he was not too picky. He wanted something that was going to, hold quite a bit of meat and be a good representation for that. And so he kind of lined up cross canyon, and he made a good shot. Got that bear down, and pretty stoked. And I kind of turned around and looked, just like, we know there's more bears here. There's one of these bears coming in now that it's heard a gunshot. And I looked off to my right. I'm like, I'm gonna go over here. That thing is a big bear up there, and it was at 500 yards. Looking at it, it's just feeding, not a care in the world. Didn't care that we shot, didn't move. I don't know when it appeared out from behind this little bush.
Now, this is the bear that you seen earlier.
We think.
Yeah. Okay.
So
probably was, because if you have to question yourself, is that a cow or a bear?
That's a big bear.
It's usually a big bear. Yeah.
That's a good tell. So, nobody's ever talked about that before when it comes to determining a mature bear or not.
No. Is that bear the size of a cow? Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I started making a stalk in on it, and I mean, I'm in sagebrush. Like, there's nothing to hide behind. You're essentially just walking at this thing and hoping it is comfortable with you.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking, and it ducks in behind this little bush, and it's probably the size of like 2 garbage cans, and it's just behind it. And I'm trying to work my way slowly to the right to where I can see it. And I'm about 75 yards from this bush, and I'm still not seeing this bear. I don't know if it laid down, but at one point I kind of climbed up onto this little rock to try and get above it, and I busted it, and it just took off running. And one of my first mule deer I got, Dan showed me a trick. He's like, if you bust these animals, like, you just make the weirdest sound you can, and they'll stop and they'll look at you. And it worked for 2 mule deer in the past. And I was like, I don't know if it works with bears, but here I am, and I'll make this sound. And it stopped and fired around, like, heavy quartering to me, and just stared at me. And I was like, oh, that's like 150 yards. That's the shot I'm going to get. Otherwise, it's down into this steep canyon with super heavy cover. And one shot, and it just dropped and rolled. And it rolled over this edge, and I was like, I don't know where that went, but I know this canyon is steep to get into. And I started walking towards it, pretty nervous, because I was like, I've never seen an animal drop like that before.
Uh-huh.
And I got up to this little willow bush kind of overhanging, not a 10-foot complete cliff, but there was like, it almost looked like a bear den, because it was pretty hollowed out in the hillside. And yeah, it locked up in that willow bush, and it didn't look like much, because they just seemed to crumple up so small. So I went and got Jareed, got our packs, and we hiked up there, and we tried to roll it out of this thing, and there was not a chance. We both grabbed a leg, and we determined it was going down that hill before anywhere else, because we couldn't move it, and there was no way we were working in that willow bush without it probably breaking through the bush while you were working on it. So we got it down to a little road at the bottom, processed that one, knowing now that it's probably, say, 5 to 6 o'clock, and we have another bear that we need to go find in this blowdown. So we quickly gutted it, left it on the little trail that was there, and then went and got my buddy's bear and quartered that one out, and then had to pack it out. We started when it was pretty dark, and it was pitch black. I was so well prepared that I brought apparently my backup headlamp with dead batteries, so I had like a candle in front of me in the dark. We processed his bear, and I got back. We were trying to find our way to the road, and knowing the point in the road where we wanted to hit, that some of it had a pretty steep embankment. And I got out, and I'm holding my little headlamp out. I'm like, oh, this kind of looks like a cliff in front of me here. Go back into the bush, just go 10 feet down. Like,
yeah,
buddy, all I'm finding is cliffs in front of us. We gotta find somewhere else. And we found a spot where we could kind of butt slide down the steep embankment. And we were pretty happy at that point that all we had to do was then hop in the little side by side and go drive up to mine. And once we did that, we realized how big it was because we could barely lift that into the back of this side by side. We kind of got the front half propped up there and tied it on, and then the two of us just all we could do to lift the butt end of that bear in.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I want to go back just a tiny bit. You want to demo that sound that you stopped that bear with? I'll take any tips or tricks I could get.
Was it like a predator noise you're making, or just some like what was that show when he's like, "Hey, you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?" What was that?
Oh, that was Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Hey Pete, what does the Sasquatch sound like?
Couldn't tell you.
Well, that's kind of what I think the sound I made. I don't know if it's a bit of a goat or a sheep, some cow mixture in there, you know, just like whatever you can come up with that you can make loudly that's not just like, "Hey bear."
Yeah. That usually scares them away when you start yelling that. I find anyway.
Yeah.
But well, that's pretty cool, man. That was a nice bear. What'd you do with the hide?
So the cinnamon bear I got, I kind of just rough cut it and had that tanned. And I was not looking to have a second hide. So knowing that once we had the bear, my buddy's father-in-law from Germany grew up having taxidermy and Euro mounts in the place. And he doesn't hunt, but he was like, "Oh, if I'd really be interested in having the hide tanned and done as like a rug." Mm-hmm. So my buddy took it and he got it done as a rug down in Abbotsford.
Oh wow, cool,
nice.
Yeah,
that was a nice bear. You kept the skull, I assume.
Yeah, I kept. Actually, my buddy did it up for me because when I moved up here, we were renting his place and I didn't have a pressure washer or a little gas barbecue to do it on. So he Euroed it for me.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's, did you have any fear, like first year bear hunting? Do you have any fear of bears at all?
I don't think so. I remember like when I was young over in Port Alberni, we'd be in the motorhome and you'd look outside and there'd be a bear on your picnic table ripping apart your cooler. You're like, okay, so like they're animals that when they want something, they will get it. Yeah. And I would say I've had some close encounters with grizzly bears. They are different.
Yeah.
Black bears just seem they pretty much do their own thing, and their first instinct always seems to be run away, which I think is a little more reassuring when you're trying to get in closer to bears.
Yeah, typically. I mean, I have had a few times when I was pretty shocked and surprised. You get some bears, some aggressive bears, black bears especially. Yeah, they'll take runs at you and do some. I mean, they're wild animals, and they're unpredictable. I mean, even elk and deer can be unpredictable. But yeah. So you guys, so you got your bear first, or he shot his bear, then you went and shot your bear. You got both bears out. That's a good afternoon.
Yeah, I think we got home at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. No After doubt. We got them both loaded up and back to the cabin and got them out of the little cargo trailer and just kind of out to cool overnight. And luckily for us, I mean, I think at the lake I was living, we were only a couple degrees overnight. So you just hang it outside and.
Yeah. And it was still early then too, early May. Yeah. So you're not into that late May, early June heat, which can be killer, especially in the area we live in. So what was your wife? Were you in contact with her, or did you just show up home at 2:00 in the morning, all bloody, covered in bear hair?
For that one, we had reception, so I was able to tell her that we got a couple bears, and she's like, "Okay, well, dinner will be in the fridge for you. Eat when you come home." Like,
yeah,
she didn't expect to see us anytime soon.
Yeah, that's good because it can easily, something like that when you don't have contact, especially if you got two young kids at home, that could put a dampener on next year's bear hunting if she doesn't know what's going on and she's sitting around waiting for you. Yeah, for sure. That's why electronics are good and bad, but for that reason they're definitely handy.
Yeah, it's nice to keep everybody peace of mind, and then you can do your thing and everybody's happy.
Yeah, and you talking about your headlamp, like don't feel bad. I did that last year. And for a guy who spends as much time in the bush as I do, you think I would fucking know better. And then last year I was using my GPS light as my flashlight and it killed my GPS. But luckily I knew. I told this story too on the podcast, and luckily I knew my way back like the back of my hand. But yeah, so I mean that just happens.
Oh yeah. I don't know how many times I've had brand new batteries in my headlamp. You go out hunting, have a late night, come back, you get back to camp, you chuck it in your bag or whatever, and you need it the next day, and it's gotten bumped and turned on midday, and it's like, wasn't your fault. Shit happens.
Well, I mean, it's your fault. It's everyone's fault. I mean,
but it is what it is, right? It's not like you walked, it just happens. It's life.
Yeah.
That was interesting. I don't know, like navigating for me, I think is pretty easy. I always just kind of, you walked in on the left side of the mountain, so you're going to turn around and the mountain will be on your right. So even coming out, like I just gave up on the headlamp and I was just kind of going by moonlight and my buddy's headlamp at the occasional time when he'd turn around and look at me, and I didn't find it that bad. I think the worst part was just the fatigue at that point. You're just beat after hiking around most of the day and then butchering on a super steep slope, and now you're hiking out with probably 80-pound packs between the two of us.
Yeah, that definitely takes it out of you for sure. Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about what you did with the meat and stuff, because I'd love to hear about a little bit of your processing. Do you process all the meat yourself?
Yeah, the two bears I did myself. I kind of broke them down into big pieces to start, because freezer space and fridge space to do it all kind of at home in the kitchen was limited. So first it'd just be break it into quarters, get that all cooled into the fridge. And then I kind of kept everything as big as I could, knowing that I would just grind, 10 or 15 pounds at a time. So I kept shanks and all the hind quarters. Even the front legs, keep your upper and lower leg, so you could do slow cooker roasts, and then the front legs actually seem to braise down pretty good. I'm not a big fan of ribs, so a lot of that just became meat for the grinds, which in our house we use that. We don't buy beef anymore. We pretty well, for last year now, it's just been all bear.
Nice.
And we use that for all sorts of different Asian dishes and curries and past sauces. And with the two bears, surprisingly, both spring bears, even the one that I got in May, that one had 11 pounds of fat on it. And the April bear had 11 pounds and the May bear had 30 pounds of fat. So I was able to try rendering twice.
Yeah, I seen you making some posts about that. And I think you and I we were chatting back and forth about that a little bit too. So yeah, we just love to hear about that, and kind of that was obviously with your first bear. Obviously, that's your first experience rendering any bear fat. So so what was it that, I mean, like I've shot lots of bears and I've never done it. So it's one of those things where you're like, yeah, I'd like to do it, and I just never do it. I don't know why. I guess it's a time thing, and I don't know what it is. I just don't get into it. So what was it about rendering your own fat that you thought you wanted to get into?
I don't know if it's just kind of like the using more of the animals that I've tried to do. I've always wanted to bring out like livers to make dog treats, because liver is something that is not my favorite. I've eaten a lot of animal hearts. The bears, I wasn't sure if organs are something you can eat, but the fat, I know between like the Bear Grease podcast and Bear Hunting Magazine, there's like a lot of information about different things you can do with bear fat. So I figured I'd give it a try. And the first one with a pregnant wife at home, I was like, I don't know if this is going to smell bad. So I put the slow cooker outside and just went for it. And
good call. Good call. That's a smart man, right?
I thought you were going to say, well, too fucking bad for her, and I did it anyway. That's where I thought you were going with that.
No, I know that wouldn't end well if the house just stunk. Yeah, so the first one, I'd read that you kind of need to have like super clean fat. And a lot of the fat that was on that bear, there were some good pieces that were like maybe an inch thick and kind of just like a small plate. But a lot of it was, pretty small little strips here and there that I just kind of took off as I was processing it. And I just washed a little bit of fat or a little bit of blood that was on the fat, and figured that was the one thing. If you have any meat on it or blood, if it's dirty, that can kind of change the flavor, is what I had read. And I just did my best to make it pretty damn clean. And that was, it didn't take long. It was pretty easy. And for the first one, I just chopped it all into kind of 1 inch or smaller blocks, because that was the simplest way to do it.
Yeah, it's already been cooled, and it's easy to. It's definitely easier to handle. Not that I've done it a whole lot, but I just know fat in general on bears is definitely easier to handle when it's cooled down.
Yeah, they're small pieces coming out of the fridge, or if you can freeze it, it almost breaks apart. You kind of get your knife halfway through, and it just comes into little cubes.
So when you were processing your bear, did you cut all the fat off and kind of like just put it in a what did you put it in a bag or put it in a container, and you threw that in the fridge?
I just pushed half the stuff in the fridge to one side, and I put it on like a cookie sheet.
Oh, nice.
That's
nice. That's like your old lady, your pregnant old lady opening up the door looking for some milk and seeing a big pile of bear fat sitting right there in the fridge.
Look what I cooked.
It wasn't only that; it was the quarters, and I probably had half the fridge full while I was processing it. You can only do that so late at night before you're just a risk to lopping off fingers or.
Yeah.
So it was the first one was probably a 2-day process for me to.
And your wife's cool. She's not swearing at you at all. Get this fucking bear out of my fridge or anything like that yet. Not yet. Anyway.
No. I'm pretty lucky. When she was younger, she worked at a specialty meat shop, prepping sausages and different sort of small, but not a butcher shop, but they'll bring in like a quarter and prep that for steaks and whatnot. So
gotcha. So it takes a bit to shock her.
Yeah, she's probably more competent at doing this than I was. She just looked at me like, "What are you doing over there?" Oh, figuring it out.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then so with the rendering, you just in the cubes, you're just slow cooking it, and eventually it kind of cooks down, and there's more oil left, and your cubes just turn into like the little pork rinds you can buy at Costco.
So when you're slow cooking it, now this is how much fucking experience I have with cooking. Do slow cookers have dials to turn them like the temperature on them? I don't even fucking know. I'm serious. This is how much experience I have with cooking.
It's because you're not allowed to touch that stuff.
I know. This is what if I touched the slow cooker in my house, I wouldn't have a fucking hand.
Yeah, but your wife's a chef, is she not?
Yeah.
Okay.
But do they? So
valid.
So when you're cooking it at a slow, really low.
I had it on high.
Oh, you cooked it on high. Okay.
Yeah, and that worked pretty good. I think it was like 3-4 hours by the time I had cooked it down to where like the little like pork rinds or cracklings or what some people call them, they weren't getting any smaller.
Yeah.
So then I just used a ladle and a strainer, and I would strain them into jars. And I think it would kind of worked out like for every pound of fat, I'd get a liter of I get a half pint jar.
Oh yeah.
So I got the first bear. I think I got 6 little jars of fat.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
No, it's super easy.
Yeah. How was the smell? Was the smell okay? Is it something you could, like? Did you eventually start just doing it at your kitchen table?
Yeah, I did. After a while, I was like, it doesn't smell like anything. As soon as like it was rendered down, I just kind of dipped my finger in it. Once it had cooled a little bit, I was like, what does this stuff even taste like? And it's so mild. It's like barely even it's like an oil, and the only thing I can kind of think it's like a little bit of like a, whether it be like a hazelnut flavor to it or a little bit like a cashew. That was like the only thing I can pick up.
Oh, I wonder if that has anything to do like their fat, the way their fat tastes. I wonder if it has anything to do with what they're eating just before.
It'd
Well,
be interesting to get some different bears from different, one off a blueberry patch versus one that's been mowing down on salmon and stuff, and do the exact same process and do a taste test between them.
Yeah, do like a Pepsi challenge between a blueberry, or like maybe one was eating nuts and stuff. It's like down here we have lots of those trees around. They could easily get.
yeah, and I know they say the bears that are eating a lot of berries, their fat will actually be kind of like a purpley blue color.
Oh,
Really?
okay, yeah. Yeah.
Like I don't know if you guys have done any duck hunting, but I know the soybean ducks will have a white fat on them, whereas the ducks that eat corn will have like a yellow fat.
Oh, okay.
So in ducks, it'll change color based on what they're eating, and I'm assuming it's the same thing for bears.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah, I think I've lined up some orchard hunting this summer, so I'm gonna see if I don't have spring bears tags filled, I'll probably try and do some of the private land August hunting, and those bears are living off apples and grapes.
Well, I bet those things would be exceptional. Like
the guy I work with who's been talking about it, he's like, I don't leave the valley to hunt because the bears that are down here, there's so many of them, and they're just so good eating.
Yeah, that's understandable.
I have permission too to hunt in August for bears, and I just never do it.
I mean, I don't know that I'm looking forward to how hot it is.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, it's so fucking hot, and it's like seems but it's funny because like when bear season ends, if I haven't punched both my tags, I'm always really anxious to go punch the second one. But then it starts getting a little closer to September 1st, and then you start thinking of like velvet mule deer, and so your brain kind of starts going in another direction, right? Where like and then it goes from mule deer to elk, and then like whatever LEH tags you have, and then like right into whitetails, and then when that's over, then it's like, okay, well, man, I can't wait for April to start so we can start getting into bears. And obviously right now it's bear season, but it'd definitely be interesting to see, because they're sitting there chewing on apples all day, and they probably do taste pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's what I've been told, that they're just exceptional eating.
They're just like no stress either, just sitting in there in the shade and coming out right before dark and feeding on all the apples that fall down.
Yeah,
I wonder if they're a problem for a lot of orchardists. Like,
yeah, you'd think that they'd be concerned about the bears breaking branches and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, climbing up the trees. I wonder how many they have to chase off their trees.
Yeah, I know.
Like Taylor said, they get into anything. Like those bears, they get into anything and everything. So.
Yeah, I know. Living on the coast at the blueberry farms down in the Fraser Valley, the one farmer told us like he has a bear that'll come through, and if they don't chase it out, it'll eat $10,000 worth of blueberries in a season.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Wow. Now, do those same farmers, do they let people hunt there, or do they just try to just push them out themselves?
I think some of them are just pushing them out. Some of the areas, because of how many buildings are around, you can't really hunt.
Yeah,
that's fair enough. Yeah.
It gets difficult down there with kind of setbacks and no shooting zones, and then some of the regions are just no hunting, like Port Coquitlam, lots of blueberry fields down there, and it's just no hunting.
Yeah. Well, that's where I'd be if I was a bear, down there eating all those blueberries, just pissing everyone off, shitting everywhere, eating their blueberries. No hunting.
I could just see you doing it.
Oh, that's funny. So how do you store, now that you have it in the little jars, how do you store it?
So I did it the simple way. I just put it in jars, let it cool in the fridge, and in the fridge it'll solidify. On the counter, it'll be more of like a syrup texture,
Yeah.
but then once it was solidified, I put it in the freezer. You can, if you have a pressure cooker, you can can it, and then it's just shelf stable.
Okay.
So next round, I have a pressure cooker now, so I will do it that way, because then it doesn't take up so much freezer space.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I bought my wife one of those for Christmas. She got a nice pressure cooker for pressure cooking all the meat. I want to do jarred bear meat this year.
That sounds like an East Coast thing, but I've heard a lot of people in northern BC they can everything.
Yeah, I've heard good, like obviously had canned, like, or pressure, like jarred salmon and all that stuff. And like my wife does a lot of vegetable stuff because she's got a massive garden, and she does that. She does a lot of her own stuff. But this year I'd like to try bear meat, jarred bear meat. It's supposed to be really delicious. I know guys who've done it and they just say it's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like you'd almost make like a corned beef type thing out of bear.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be really good. You just take it camping and be really good.
When you're storing your bear fat in the freezer, like before you're gonna pressure cook now, but how long will it last? Like if you just got it in jars,
so I'm just
gonna freezer burn
probably
after.
So far, it's been some of it's been there for a year, and there's no issues. Between the two bears, I feel like I did 24 like 500 mil jars, and then 12 of the 250 mils.
Okay.
And with our daughter's got super bad dairy intolerance, so we've just slowly kept cutting out different dairy products, even like no butters, no milks or anything like that. And lately we've replaced butter with bear oil and use a little silicone brush, and we paint it on toast and stuff, and the kids just devour it.
Really?
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my next question, was what you use it for.
So we use it, as butter nowadays. We use it for that. We've used it for baking, like breads, muffins, and pancakes.
Yeah. Does it have any unique flavor being a bear grease rather than a traditional lard or cooking or whatever else you use in baking? I don't know what you use to cook.
Yeah, I don't think it has, like, if we've served it to friends, I always tell them like what it is, and like we've given away jars, and people are just like amazed that that's what it is. It's at least from the bears I had, the two different bears from two different mountain ranges, just kind of high alpine meadows. They are very mild flavored. If there is any sort of other flavor, no one's ever told me that they could tell you what it is, other than like maybe it's a nut type hue in there.
Yeah. Huh. Cool. Interesting. Yeah, definitely very interesting.
You're awful nice for giving away all that after all that work. I'd be like, you like that, hey? Want some? Great. Let's go hunting. You're gonna work for it.
Yeah. What's people's initial reaction when you tell them it's bear? Like it's from a bear? Are they shocked at all, or?
I think you get some people are like, oh, like you eat bear, and that's a pretty easy conversation for me to have because I didn't grow up doing it. So you try it out. Like now this year, I think I'd chase bears more than I would chase deer, because the two bears that I got from this area are better eating than any deer I've ever had. So that's pretty hard for me to say that you should be hunting deer over bears, because a lot of people look like that's what we should be hunting. And for quality of food, I mean, the two bears I got almost 100 pounds of meat off of, and the 10 pounds of fat. And then the second one, I got 190 pounds of meat and 33 pounds of fat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's hard to argue those
Phenomenal.
numbers too.
Well,
Yeah, and I went on a trip in September to the Kootenays, and the 6-point bull we got on the hook was only 100 or 254 pounds. So
Wow.
that's crazy. When we look at the size of that animal, I'm like, wow, the bear I got really provided almost the same amount of meat
right. Off
by the
two
time
bears.
you take out half those bones. Well,
Yeah.
even just off the second bear, because
Oh, is
we
that
had
right?
all the quarters still attached for the elk, no spine or rib cage, but yeah, that second black bear that I got was
Yeah, that thing was
very
fucking
healthy.
It was tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, right on,
Well-
man. But it's like, what's the date today? May 7th.
7th.
Have you been out yet?
Yeah, I was out. Oh, it was late April. It was before my last set at the mine, and we went kind of down south of us here. Went into a spot that there's apparently elk in this management unit, and if they're in that unit, I think I know where they are because there's nowhere else to me that looks like elk country.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, on our way out from there, we went in, and it was just way too snow packed. Couldn't get to the areas I wanted to go check out.
Yeah.
And as we got back to the highway, I spotted another bear across the highway from us. I'm looking at my wife and the 3 kids in the back seat, and I was like, "Oh, looks like a good bear." Check the maps, and I'm like, "Oh, well, I can actually hunt there. It's crown land. It's not private property." I was like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna go see if I can get this bear." So my wife dropped me off on the side of the highway, and she drove kind of back up to where we spotted it to watch. And I made a play in, and I had to. The wind was blowing from me directly to it, so I kind of just right up through the fence, kind of hung a hard right and tried to make like a big loop. And I got up to a spot where I thought it should be feeding in this little draw. So I crossed another cattle fence on this crown land. As I'm stepping up through this fence, I look up and I'm like, that's a bear sleeping in front of me underneath this tree. And it's like 50 yards away, and I'm kind of half through this fence. I was like, okay. And I'm trying to like slowly stand up, and then this head pokes around and the ears kind of stand up, and I'm like, after the 2 bears last year, these ears sure look like they're on top of its head.
Uh-huh.
And 50 yards or the little dead branches at the base of the trees kind of between us, and I'm like, I don't have a shot. And as it stood up and walked away, I'm like, I think it's a young bear. It wasn't small, but I don't think it was like a great bear to take this early. And yeah, I kind of slowly walked way up the hill, and I pursued it to try and get like a better look at it once I got over the top. But I hadn't put my actual boots on. I was driving the truck in Nikes, so I made this big stalk in Nikes, and I looked at this hill, and I started climbing up after it, and I was like, I am dying trying to climb up this sagebrush and cactus stuff. And yeah, so it got away from me, which, you know what, I was okay with that. I looked at this bear, I was like, you know what, it's not huge, but that's a bear in an area that I know will be there, because they don't seem to go too far, and the mountain doesn't really go any higher unless it goes across the highway into the region I want to hunt later in the year. And yeah, I made back to the truck, and the kids asked me, like, Dad, did you get it? I'm like, no, not today. And I said it wasn't the bear I wanted to take. And they're like, well, next time we'll come out again and we'll get it next time. And man, that just put a smile on my face that they're so happy just to like, they could watch me go after it, and they were happy that they got to see a bear again and, you know, be a part of it.
Yeah, cool. When your kids are that young, it's great. They get to an age and they get cocky, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Did you get it?" And you're like, "No." You're like, "Ah," or they're like, "Ah, I would have got it."
Yeah,
that's what Wyatt does.
That's old, Dad.
That's what Wyatt does to me now. I would have got it.
Yeah, last year
you're 11.
You're grounded.
Yeah.
Last year I talked my buddy who got that bear, the doubleheader bears with me. I was like, yeah, like you should put in for one of the sheep draws down here. Like it's like over 100 to 1 odds. You will not win it in your lifetime. Like just start putting in. And LEH has come through. I look at mine, another year, nothing for me. I think in 13 years, I've had one draw when it was quite far up north. So I think it was like a 2 to 1 odds. And I get a call from him. He's like, so I got my moose draw. I was like, okay, that's like sweet. Good for you. He's like, I also got that sheep draw.
Oh, man.
And I was like, no way. Like, what are you talking about? And so like living, the sheep draw was really close to my house. So I could just drive with the kids and go look for sheep. And we're driving down the road. And my oldest, Easton, he goes, hey, Dad, I saw sheep. I'm like, okay, I'll turn around. I'll go look. Like, let's see what we can find. And I come back. I'm like, how did I drive past these things? They're literally 10 feet off the road. There was like 26 lambs and ewes. I'm like,
you're always looking up. You're always looking up high, though. Your kids keep it simple. That's the thing. And I've noticed the same with my kids because, like, I'll be driving, like, even like with Dad, let's go find some critters and we'll go in the backcountry. So you drive around the logging roads, right? And like, I'm up looking way up high and looking in hard spots to find deer or whatever, just to find something walking. And they're looking like straight across or, not too far up the hill, and they're spotting shit left, right, and center. And yeah, they keep it simple, smart.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I said to him is if you think you see something, I'll turn around and we'll go look. And you know what? There's very rarely that he ever says I saw something that it's not there. Like we'll be driving, he's like, I see deer. And you look ahead and you're like, where the fuck do you see these things? And here they are working their way up out of a draw across the road. You're like, well, yeah, my 4-year-old's outdoing me again.
Yeah. You always got to go back and look. My buddy, he's got a great. Every time you're like, oh, it could be nothing. Every time he's like, well, it could be everything. So better to look.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool, man. Well, right on. Thanks for sharing with us your story and giving us a little info on bear grease and bear rendering. It's always helpful to know. I say I'm going to do it, but
I'm hoping I get a chance to.
Yeah,
might try it.
Yeah. The one advice I could give for that.
Tags, Pete? Bear tags?
No,
did she buy any bear tags? Oh, so
no, she hasn't.
You're not going to do it, I guess, then.
No, maybe not. I'll have to make sure she gets some.
Hey, Pete, did she let you buy any tags?
Well, you don't understand.
I get to buy whatever I want. I don't ask permission. I always ask for forgiveness.
Pete can buy all the tags he wants. It makes no difference because his wife
just don't kill anything.
His wife does all the killing in his family. So that's how that works. That's why I asked him if his wife bought any tags. That's the only chance he's going to get to do any bear rendering.
Yeah, you know it. And I went to go do my LEH tonight. I was hoping that the system was on. I got in and get everything set up except for where you put your hunt codes in. I'm like, what the fuck? It's still I don't know what's going on there.
Some point in May.
Are those not out yet?
Well, they should have been. They should have been out April 15th is when they're always out. And they're usually due by May long weekend.
Those things, I remember sometimes they'd be coming out in March.
Yeah.
There's no reason why they have to take so long for those.
Well, it's all everybody else now too.
And everybody else already knows what they're going to be hunting. Like we're going to be putting out, and we don't even know what draws are available. And they're putting out draws that are going to be available for August 1st.
Yeah.
Which is like, so you're basically going to have a month by the time, like, when do they complete the draws? The end of June?
It's usually May, right after May long weekend. Like
I think last year was middle of June when we actually heard.
Yeah, I mean, like when you actually find out if you're successful or not.
Yeah, it's still. Oh, yeah. It's usually that's the part that changes all the time.
Yeah,
who knows?
So say now, mid-June, but 45 days isn't a long time, especially if you want to do a flying trip or you get a caribou draw and like the Spats Easy or something.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It hurts those people the most, the ones that are doing the August hunts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like it's back in the day, I used to be like, all right, well, it's not, I get it. You gotta, go through all the mail-ins and all that kind of stuff, but it's all electronic now. There's no excuse why the day that it's done, the next day it's not put out. There's no reason. It's computerized.
Oh, it's garbage. It's complete garbage.
It's ridiculous. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. But I just, I love our Ministry of Wildlife in BC.
So
Awesome.
yeah. If any of you guys manage to get in there and are able to put on your hunt codes, let me know, because probably
Well,
like
if you
2
can't put your
days.
codes in, mean that the draws aren't out.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like if anybody does, maybe they're only going to give us a couple days, get them all in, crash the system. It'll be a big madhouse. I don't know.
You're gonna snap. Are you like at level 8, Pete, right now? You're getting pretty fired. Level 7, maybe.
I am. I need a freaking moose draw, and you won't see me until I get a fucking bigger moose. Be like a 10-point moose, and be like, no, it's got to be bigger.
All right. Okay, we better go here because Pete's almost at level 8, and we don't want to see him at level 8 because
no, nobody does.
That mic's gonna be flying across the room or something.
Yeah, I'm glad you sent me two.
I got an extra one here if you need it.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy. Thanks
Great.
for
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for joining us on the podcast. Where can everybody find and follow you and just keep tabs on what you're up to these days?
Well, it's pretty simple. It's just my name, Taylor.Nairn, on Instagram, and I don't use Facebook other than Marketplace, so it's that one spot. Or I don't know if you guys have heard of Spike Camp.
A bit, yeah. We have heard a bit, and yeah, we'll talk about that later. I think we're gonna get those guys on the show sometime when we're done talking about bears and all the other guests we have lined up. So, but yeah, cool, man. Well, and we'll put your information up to where guys can find you on Instagram. And like I said last year, you were showing some videos of you rendering down some bear fat on there. So good stuff. Okay, buddy, keep in touch, and we'll talk to you later, Pete.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks for having me.
You betcha.
Okay, guys, later.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks again, everyone, for tuning into the Focus Hunting Podcast, coming at you as part of the Waypoint Outdoor Collective. I want to take a quick sec and make a huge shout out and say thanks to the sponsors of this show, starting with BC's premier archery shop, Hardcore Archery, located right here in Kelowna, British Columbia. AKU Boots, they've been supporting the show for a while now. Both Pete and I, we've been running these boots for well over a year. You know, hunting in BC, we face probably the harshest backcountry environment in the world. We got deserts, Rocky Mountain, extreme coastlines, you name it. And these are the only boots that have lasted me more than one hunting season. So, you know, they're definitely worth the investment. You owe it to your feet to use AKU boots. Use promo code FOCUS and get 15% off, right? They're probably going to cringe because I always pronounce the name wrong, but it is what it is. Onyx Maps, now available in Canada. Stay tuned, guys. We've partnered up with Onyx, and we're going to be getting you guys some more information on Onyx and their mapping system for Canada. For those of you in the US, you've already got access to it and most likely been using the app. Pete and I got early access to this app, and to be honest, it rocks. But like I said, we're going to get you more information on that, and we're going to be able to get you guys a little bit of discount. So lastly, if you guys could please leave a rating and review on whatever platform you're listening, we really appreciate the support. Love you guys. Until next time. Thanks.
Friends of NRA is your chance to support our Second Amendment rights and preserve America's hunting traditions. Join Friends of NRA at one of our 600 exciting events nationwide. From games to auctions and exclusive firearms, Friends of NRA events are your chance to support a cause you care about while having a great time with patriots in your community. Whether you're a seasoned shooter, an avid hunter or outdoorsman, or passionate about freedom, there's a place for you within Friends of NRA. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you. Stand up for freedom with the Friends of NRA.
Gear up for the hunt and learn from the best with Deer and Deer Hunting Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern on Waypoint TV. Tune in every week for expert hunting tips and unforgettable moments in the field. Waypoint TV, your destination for outdoor entertainment.